This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so today we started understanding about the ARA component. So let's create one of the ARA component and understand the purpose of each and every bundle. The first thing what we need to understand. So if you deal with the visual force, you can develop the visual force from browser, directly from browser setup. You can develop, right? Or you can open the developer console and develop. Or we are using VS Code and develop. Okay. So but same thing when you deal with the ARA component, it is not possible to develop the ARA components from the browser setup. Okay. It is not possible. We can only develop the ARA components from the developer console or VS Code. Directly, if you go to setup, okay, this is a setup. Search for lightning components. You can only see the list of lightning components. Okay, lightning components means ARA components. But creating directly from the setup area is not supported. Okay, so for sure we have to use the developer console or VS Code. Okay, just understand that point. The next thing, when we start with the LWC components can be only created from VS Code. System won't support to develop the LWC components from the developers. So these things we should know. Okay, so now let's create our component, the first component from the developer console, and later we'll work with the VS Code. Okay, so just go back and here in our organization, go to developer console. From developer console. So now here, just file. If you want to create the new component, we need to click on file and write ARA component. We need to choose. In developer console, you see the terminology: Lightning application, Lightning component, Lightning interface, like that. So same thing when you try to create from the VS Code, you have to search for ARA. Okay, so you have to say ARA component, ARA application, ARA event. So like that we need to mention. Okay, so just understand the difference. Okay, so somehow in the developer console we see as lightning component. Let's click on that and give the name. Maybe I'm going to explain few basics. There are some global value providers, how we refer the static resource, how we refer the label, few things I'm going to explain. So I'm giving the name as global value providers. So that is the component name I am giving. And also while creating this component, where you want this component to be available. Okay. So after creating this component, do you want to allow to create the tab? Do you want to use this on the one of the record page or home page or app page? In the app builder, we have to check this one. So experience builder means in communities. We also say digital experiences. To use there, we have to check this. This one is quick action. When we open the record, we see on top some buttons. So to make this component available in that place, we need to use this. Okay, so all these are optional. If you want, you can check. So internally, what will happen due to all these things? System automatically inherits some of the interfaces. Okay, so always you can see the documentation. So I asked you to bookmark two websites. So one of the website component library. Okay, so here you can see all the standard interfaces provided by Salesforce under ARA. If you go and see, we have many interfaces. So some of these interfaces will be inherited. For example, so Lightning tab. For that, to allow the component as a tab, we have a event called force::app hostable. Okay, this is the event. Okay, I mean this is the interface. Okay, so if you read this, add the force::app hostable interface to a Lightning component to allow it to be used as a custom tab. In the same way, so when you choose this one, Flexi page available for all the pages, something like that. Some of the other interfaces it inherit. Okay, so let's say Flexi page available for all page types. That is due to this one. Okay, so if you don't check here, later also if you want, you can add. Okay, so submit. So due to those interfaces, if you see implements, and that is implementing all the multiple interfaces. That's what is happening. And if you see the first tag, so internally this Lightning components means ARA components follow the open source framework of Salesforce, which is ARA framework. So we are saying the starting tag as ARA colon component and ending like this. In between, we write the logic. And this is to inherit the interfaces. All these are the standard interfaces. These will decide the availability of the Lightning component. Okay. So now, right side, if you see the bundle, you are seeing 8 files, right? So this is one of the file, or we say a resource in the bundle. Okay. So here we write the UI. We can include some standard components, and also we can write some HTML UI logic and develop. Okay. So if you want to write the JavaScript, if you see here, still those files are not generated in the bundle. It's not that always we need to generate. Based on the requirement, we generate these files. Okay. So let's say I'm generating this controller. Okay, it is a JS file. If you see whatever the component name is there, controller.js. So here we write the JavaScript. So why the JavaScript looks like this here? In general, when we discussed about the Visual Force, so what is the syntax of the JavaScript function? Function name, right? Let's say if you are supplying some parameters, let's say I'm supplying number 1, number 2 parameters like this. And if you want to include a return statement, you can say return number 1, number 2, something like this. So this is the syntax. So now here, whatever you are seeing is something different. The thing is in JavaScript, we have objects and arrays. Okay. So object means, let's say, person is an object, right? Like this we define. So inside the object we see properties, property name and property value. So for a person, first name can be there, right? So first name we can give first name, we can give last name. And all other details we give, right? So something like this. Okay, so this we call as object, JavaScript object. Okay, array means, so array, let's say this is an array. In array there can be multiple values, right? Okay, and if you want, okay, we can also use this array inside this. That is also possible. So just I'm trying to show you. This is the object in the JavaScript and this is the array in the JavaScript. If you see this object, this function will be added to the object when you deal with the Aura components here. So what is happening? They have an object. That object, that's a function name. And here they are going to use the anonymous function. Anonymous function means function without any name. Okay. So this one, as a value, we can use array or we can also use the function. Okay. If you want one more function, comma function 2, then whatever the function, they are like that. Okay. So if you see here, and this is for the global scope, is enclosed here. That is what you see here. Okay. This is the function name colon, right? Name of the function. So just understand that. Okay. So, and also here, what is this component? Component will be having the DOM information, the information about the UI. UI here, whatever attributes we define, whatever elements we have, that information we can capture by using the component. So the order matters. The first parameter is for the component. Second one is for event. Third one is for helper. The name can be anything. Okay, but every time I don't want to type component that much. You can also give like this. Okay, so it's up to you. So slowly we'll also add some logic and understand. Now just I have generated this file and here we write the JavaScript. Okay, and also I'm generating helper.js. Here also we write the JavaScript. So what is the difference between controller.js and the helper.js? The helper.js functions are reusable. For example, for this component, you are calling this component 5 times. Okay, so that means 5 instances of this component will be generated. In each instance, system maintains a separate copy of the controller. 5 copies of the controller.js. But helper.js, system maintains only 1 copy and reuse the logic again and again. So that's the purpose of the helper.js, the reusable JavaScript resource. Yeah, the next one is style. Okay, so style.css. I mean the component name.css. Here we include the style information. Okay, I'll add some style going forward. So the next one is documentation. Okay, in documentation, how we can see this component. So if you see here, this is the standard component library. Left side, you are seeing all the standard components. Here you can also see our custom components. Okay, how we can see our custom components? Copy our organization specific URL. Okay, this is a generic URL, right? If you replace this generic URL with the organization specific URL, whatever our organization is there, system also start showing our custom components. Okay, left side, you see this custom component it is showing. So these are the standard, right? So when you open standard component, what is happening? We are seeing some preview. We are also seeing the code. We are also seeing the specifications and in documentation, what is the use of that and everything we are seeing, right? So in the same way, when we deal with our custom component, let's see in the global value provider, at present it is throwing error. We have to write some content to show here. Then you'll also see similar to standard component how it is looking in the same way. Okay, so that's the purpose of this documentation. Okay, the next one is renderer. So actually there are some standard set of functions available in case like after render, right? Re-render and so done render. So there are some methods are available. If you want to override the standard behavior, only that time we add some logic here. Otherwise, we don't write anything here. Okay. The next thing, design. Design is when you use this component in the app builder to provide the configurable properties right side. We use this. Okay. For example, so if you open one of the application, let's say I'm trying to modify the home page in the app builder. Okay. Click on gear icon, click on edit page. If you see, so here the thing is right side some properties are there, right? When you use some of the standard components, so right side you see some properties. In the same way, for our custom component also, I want to show. I think here just mostly most of these things are not having. Okay, so this one is having some properties right side. In the same way, for our custom component also, I want to show. Okay, so that's what I want. So for that, we use this design. Okay, which properties you want to allow to configure in the app builder, those we add here. Okay, for all these things, I'll add content and show you. For now, I'm just generating and show you. The next one is SVC. This one, when you open in the app builder, so left side, if you see the standard components, so how you are seeing for all the standard components, for each component, you are seeing a different icon, right? Different icons we're seeing. And for our custom component, we see thunder icon. Most of the times, every time we see the thunder icon. So if you want to show something else, so that time we modify this SVG. Okay, one of the five. Okay, this is the bundle. Okay, so it's not that always we generate all these files. First one is mandatory. The other resources in this bundle, those are optional. Okay, so just understand now here. So what exactly you want to write? So I'm going to show some so global value providers. For example, when we open this component, I want to know this component is opened from which device. Let's say I want to know whether it is opened from phone or maybe from desktop. All those things I want to know. Okay, so for that we have a global value provider. Anything dynamical, if you want to refer, we use this dynamic expression. To recognize the devices, we have $browser dot. So here we have some options. Right? Is phone. This I'm checking. So are we opening this one from phone? If you are opening from phone, it returns true. Otherwise, it returns false. Okay. We also have one thing called form factor. Okay, that means it will say this phone or tab or desktop like that. Okay. Say I'm saying browser dot form factor. Okay. In the same way, you can also verify, is it Android one or is it iOS, right? Let's say I'm using Android, this kind of things. Browser dot is Android dollar browser. Okay, so I'm just mentioning save. So let's see so far how it is looking. Maybe I'm giving some line break to see in different lines. So the thing is, we cannot see the preview for the ARA component. Okay, so either we need to add this on one of the home page or record page, some page, and see the preview, or through Lightning application we can see the preview. Okay, so what I want most of the times as a developer, even though we don't have the requirement to create the application, we create one application and add it to see the preview quickly. Okay, I'm creating one Lightning application. Just I'll say test app. Okay, in the ARA application bundle, you see only 7 files. What is the one file missing? Design, right? Because the ARA application we cannot use inside the app builder on the home page, on record page, it won't show. Okay, that's the reason. So just understand that point. And additionally, for the application, we have the capability to see the preview. Directly you can click on preview, and if you see after .com, the app name, C is the namespace, test app.app. Here you can see the result of the component. Now here I want to refer our component what we created, right? So it is a custom component. The default namespace is C colon. If organization is created with some namespace, instead of C, we need to use the namespace. Okay. So here the component name global value providers. Okay, so that's the component name. Okay. So now let's see the preview. Now if you see here, is phone false. We are not seeing from phone. Is it Android? No. Form factor we are seeing from the desktop. So how we need to open in phone to see it is open? As a developer, no. Okay, so as a developer, we have the developer tools. Okay, so all you need to do, right click and inspect. Okay, so if you see here, we have device, toggle device toolbar. Click on that one. Okay, so now which device you want? That's a Galaxy S5. Just refresh once. If you see here, it is saying, right? So just we are using this. Okay, so this mimic that we are opening from the phone. Okay, so now if you see, we opened with this Galaxy S5. Okay, so it's like a simulator. So is phone true, right? Galaxy S5 is an Android phone, form factor phone, right? So let's say I'll try to open using iPhone. Okay, iPhone, just refresh. iPhone is not Android, right? Is phone true, but is Android no? So like that. Okay, so the browser that is available that will be useful for those kind of things. Okay, now the next thing quickly what I want to show you how we refer the static resources, that is also important, right? So now for that maybe I'm just giving some to differentiate. So now to refer the static resource. Maybe let me give some headings here. These are like the so some heading like this I am giving. And also we can know about the local. That means from which country. So what is the currency? Those kind of things also we know. Okay, so for that, so let me try to get the country. Okay, country. So we have a global value provider, local dot country. Okay. In the same way, currency. And see, right? Country is US and the currency is dollar. So I did not enable any plugin. So maybe country it is showing something. So I'm not sure why it is showing like this, right? It is wrong. Maybe in this test app, is it not working? So in general, it will show the current, this component is opened from which country, the internet service provider based on that. Okay. Somehow maybe here I am seeing from this, maybe if you add this component on the home page, it might work. Maybe let's try. Okay, I'm adding that here. Save. And then something is wrong. Okay. So let's see this dollar local. Are we seeing? Are we giving something wrong? Okay, so country is correct, right? Currency. I think some default thing it is. Okay. So I think it is based on the current logged in user. For the current logged in user, what is the local and what is the currency? I think that it is showing. Okay, so maybe now click on setup. Go to users. Click on users. We logged in as this user. So what is the currency of this user? US dollar, right? Changing to this. Okay, and the country. So I think it is taking this. Okay. Save. Go back and just refresh. See now currency is changed, right? So country still. So country I have selected as time zone, local, English India, Indian rupee. Okay, somehow maybe there is something wrong. So that is to in general recognize that one. The next thing, how we maybe get the resources. Okay, so for that, to refer the resource, maybe go to left side static resources. So click on static resources. Here we have some all these things. Let's say I want to refer this maybe randomly. Let's say this login image, copy. To refer that, we use dollar resource dot login image. Then now here, if you see, it is giving the location. Okay, if you want to see, we have to keep this for the image. Src is equal to, now it will show. Okay, select that. So that's about that. Okay, the next thing what I want to show you, how we refer the custom label. Right? Custom labels, how we refer. Custom labels. To refer the custom label, dollar label dot whatever the custom label name. Right? Custom labels. Click on custom label. Click on this custom label name. Okay. And also one of the point, when we use the custom label, we also need to use the namespace. Okay, the default namespace is C. Okay, this is something extra we have to use. No, this is not the image, right? This is just a text content. So whatever the message is there in the custom label, we need to see that here. Right? If you see custom labels, you cannot delete the closure case. That is the message the custom label is having, and it is showing. So these are the few things to understand how we can detect. Now same thing, if there is a requirement to refer in the JavaScript, how we do that I am going to show you. So for that I am going to introduce one button. I'm introducing one button here. I'm just giving some line break, and on top of that I'm introducing one button. For that lightning, we have a standard component. Lightning button. So which type of button you want? So maybe sorry. So the variant, which kind of style you want? Variant is equal to, I'm using brand. Label of the button is equal to, I'm giving as do action. Let's say that's the name of the label. So basically, this we can refer from the component library. No need to maybe remember. So I asked you to bookmark the website, right? Component library. Go here, and under ARA, you see under lightning namespace button. So click on that, you see different examples. Which one you want out of this? Let's say I want third one. If you see here, lightning button variant, brand label, whatever you want. When you click what you want to call, you can copy from here. No need to really remember. Okay. So now what I want. So let's say this other name I'm giving as do action. I want to call that when I click on this button, right, on click, one of the browser event, on click, I want to call that the controller function. Right? To call, we have to say C. C means controller. That whatever the function name is there, that one. If you see what is the architecture, so when we deal with the RR, right, from the view, from the page, we call the controller JS. From here, you can call Apex method. Directly calling the Apex method is not possible. We are calling one of the function inside this controller. That's what we are doing now. Yeah, and click on this button. This will be called. Now here, how we access that maybe the browser form factor and all those things. Here to access those, we say $a dot get. Okay. So inside that, so whatever, let's say we need this, right? So we give to get that value. Okay. So anyway, I'm just want to print in the browser console. To print in the browser console, we use console.log, and like this we print in the browser console. But I also want to add some text, right? So how we give something like this is phone, and we are printing. Okay, now let's see whether it is showing or not. So how we see, just refresh. When we click on this button, do action. Somehow the style is not applied, right? The thing is, when we use the ARA component inside the application, if you see here, we have this tab. It won't apply the styles by default. Okay, we have to here inherit one of the standard component called. But here I'm using extends. Extends means to inherit one more component. Force colon SLDS, one of the standard component. Only if you inherit, the styles will be applied for the components included. Okay. Now if you see, you are seeing this in the blue color. Now on click on that one, what will happen? Click on inspect. So removing that. So now on click on that in the console here, it will be printing a message. Okay. Now if you see is phone, it's giving false, right? So that is correct. So now in the same way, let's go to this controller JS. Maybe there is no space like this again. So now let's see to know the currency. Right? Current logged in user currency console.log. So this time, when you have multiple strings, right, giving single quote and plus and concatenating, instead of doing that in JavaScript, in modern JavaScript, we have a concept called template text. We use backtick instead of single quote. Under escape, you see one of the key. So I'm using backtick, and inside that, if you use, the advantage is you can whatever you want you can type. Whenever there is a dynamic value, we enclose the dynamic value like this. We don't give any plus and all those things. Directly type whatever text you want. Whenever there is a dynamic value, we need to enclose that inside this one. Inside that, so I'll say this. We need local currency. Okay. So in the same way, to get the static resource, right? Dollar resource, the URL of the static resource. If you want, so here what we are referring, login image, and in the same way, custom label value if you want. This is a image URL. So this one custom label value. Here we say label dot c dot the name of the custom label. Okay. So now go back just to refresh. Click on this one. You can see in JavaScript we are getting all that information. So this is the way. This is one of the basic example. Now I'll use this example to show. Now here we have this function, right? Now I want to keep this logic in the helper. Okay. We can also do that. So all this logic, so I'm keeping in the helper.js. Okay. So now for the helper.js, I'm just supplying. Mostly we supply these two. Okay. And this one to call. Let's say I'll give the method name as handle to action. I'm going to call that one from here. Okay, so here let's say helper dot handle to action. Okay, this is the way how we include the logic in the helper. So directly calling the helper function from the component is not possible. From here always we have to call the controller function that can call the helper. Now also you have to see the same result. Okay, same result you are seeing. That is the helper. The next thing style. So if you want to apply the style, how we can apply. So for this, if you see here, maybe to show you, there are two things we need to know. Here maybe for our demo, I am also taking one div. Inside the div, I'm giving some all these things, and also I'm taking a paragraph. Okay. Now, if you see this div, it is directly inside the component, right? Or if you see this h1, directly it is inside the RA component. Right? So maybe this one also let me take as h1. This is not directly inside the RA. It is inside this RA component. We have div. Inside div we have this h1. Okay. Now if you want to apply the style, okay. So we can apply the style based on the tag also. So now maybe I'm taking the style class. So here red color. This is the style class. After this, I'm not giving any space. Right? Color red. Right? So I'm using this red color. Go here. So for this one, class equal to referring the color. For this one also, class equal to referring the. And we are expecting the content to see in the red color. This is the first one. It is showing in the red color. But this one, sample paragraph, that is also inside this h1, right? It is not showing the red color. The reason is When you don't give the space, that will be applied only the direct elements inside the ARA component. If you want to apply for the inner elements which are not direct child of the ARA component, we have to give the space. Now already it is referred. Now due to this, it will show that color as red color. This one also it will show in the red color. So in order to apply the style, you see it is showing. There also it is showing. So this point we should know. Okay, the other things you can define styles and whatever you want you can define. Okay, so that's about the CSS. Now documentation, how we can show this one in the documentation in a meaningful way. So here description, global value providers, example. Okay, so here the name of the component, global value. Here the reference, how we refer, C colon global value providers label. Example description. Okay, so now, so just I have this, all these things where we see, when you open the documentation, this is the component, sorry, this is the component library. So left side, see global value providers here. Okay, just refresh once. And we did not refresh. Refresh once. Now if you open this one, if you see in the preview part, right, global value provider, first ARA component to understand whatever we wrote, and the preview, you are seeing the preview, right? So, and also if you see here, this is the logic we wrote, controller, helper, CSS, everything it is showing, right? So here what we just, whatever we type, everything it will show in a meaningful way. So that's the purpose of this documentation resource. Yeah, renderer, we are not going to override anything for now. You can design, this one is in the app builder to provide the configurable property. Maybe to show about this, I'm going to enclose this entire content in a card. Okay, so we have lightning card title is equal to global value providers demo. Okay, so again, if you want to know about this one in the component reference, you can open this card and you can see how exactly we can use that. Okay, so title, spelling wrong. Okay, so if you want, so what I am saying here, right? Go to card and see how we can make use of that. Okay, and use it. Okay, now that's it. I'm keeping. So now what I want, this name I want to make it as configurable. Yeah, I want to read this value from a attribute. If you remember in Visual Force component, we defined some attributes. Here also we can define the attributes. ARA attribute to hold the information. Name of the attribute, I'm giving as title. Data type, I'm giving as string. The default value as a default value. This one I am keeping. Right here. title. Okay, I'm giving that. Okay, so that's it. Now just refresh and see. I think is it save? We have to see that. And also one other thing, uh, to refer any attribute, one of the main thing is we have to refer using v value provider. V means view. So anytime from JavaScript or anywhere, if you want to refer the attribute, we have to use v dot and name of the attribute. Okay, save it and try to see. And if you see, we are saying global value provider demo. Now this one in the app builder while adding, you see this is the app builder, right? So here, click on edit page. So right side that component is there. So here. Now when I choose this component, right side, nothing is there to configure. Now I'll add one property to configure. So this is the attribute name. Go to design. Okay. If you want to make some of the attribute available to configure, we use the design attribute. Name should be whatever the name of the attribute is there, same name, exact name. Label can be anything, whatever you want. Let's say I'll say card title. Okay, so that's it. Due to this, now if you go back and just refresh, choose this component. You see here, I'm removing space and save. Right? It is applying that change. Right? You'll be seeing whatever we configure here, so that value is here. So that's the purpose of the design. Okay, the next thing is again go to this app builder, SVC. I don't like this standard. So whatever the standard icon is there for this lightning thunder icon, I want this to be replaced with some custom SVC. So we can do that. So for that we need some SVC images. So I'll say bootstrap SVC. There are some icons. Okay, just opening. So for now, maybe randomly, I'm going to choose one thing and show you. Okay, so let's say which one more. Let's say I'm choosing this. Okay, this icon I want to show. Copy this. This is the SVC code for that icon. Go to the developer console and replace this one until SVC, replace that one with this. Save. Now go back to the tab builder. This is the one. Just refresh and see. Left side, if you see global value providers, so we have seen that one. Select that. Okay, so that's it. So that's about this icon we have seen. So that is to understand each and every resource, one of the first component. Later, we'll see a few more things what we need to for sure understand on day to day when we develop the Aura components. About that, we'll see tomorrow or Monday. So tomorrow, do you want a holiday or tomorrow you want to come? Okay, anything in the morning, right?
No, sir.
So let's maybe say on Monday. Okay, we'll maybe connect on Monday and continue further. Thank you.